Welcome to the Inspired Riding Podcast. I'm your host, Beth Lauren Parrish. As a certified riding instructor, remote coach, and rapid transformational therapy practitioner, a powerful form of hypnotherapy, I'm here to remind you to slow down, trust your intuition, and really deeply listen to your horse. And this will make for the best co-creative dances possible, whether you're on the ground or connecting on their backs. Thank you so much for being here, and here we go. Hello there, Inspired Riders. I am so grateful to be able to interview one of my favorite friends and colleagues, Jana Wagner. Jana Wagner works with both animals and people as an animal communicator. She's an energy medicine therapist and spiritual director. She's also a newly Associate Practitioner in Equine Positional Release. She works on all species of animals, including a raccoon and geckos. Jana has been an equestrian since the age of 8 when she took her first riding lesson. In addition to animal communication sessions, Jana is now offering an animal communication course for individuals who wish to access and hone their own skills. And I know from personal experience that this course is absolutely phenomenal. I've taken it, and I really want to encourage anyone who has an interest in learning how to do this. She is incredibly supportive, kind, and very thorough. You're going to be really pleasantly surprised. All right, without much further ado, thank you again for being here, Jana. And how are you doing?
Yay, it's great to be back. I'm doing great.
So glad to have you again on the podcast. Today we're going to specifically talk about building confidence for horse owners. You know, this year is all about building confidence for riders. But of course, in your field, we can just broaden it out to horse owners in general. So I wanted to start with the question, what are some of the key elements you believe help horse owners to feel confident?
Well, this is kind of a loaded answer, if you will, because trusting your intuition, and I know that trust can be a really big word for a lot of people. However, trusting your intuition, really, really important. You're the one that spends the time with your horse. You're the one that knows them really well. Even if you aren't their primary caretaker, there are things that you're going to notice from day to day with your interactions that you're going to want to bring to the attention of any other professionals that are helping you. So trusting that knowing when it comes up and being brave enough to speak up and be a voice for them is really important.
Absolutely. I think it's so true. The more you spend time with your horse, the more confident you're going to be in trusting your intuition about them. So I'm so glad you brought that up. And I know that, I got a sense that something was going on with my older horse, but I wasn't exactly sure what was the best choice for body work as far as helping him. So if you want to share with our listeners a little bit about Equine Positional Release and how you helped guide me over Zoom to help his body, I think that would be really cool for people to hear about it because it's not a very common thing, right?
Right. Equine Positional Release is something I came across probably 4 or 5 years ago now when my horse Chip was really having a lot of soundness struggles. He was kind of lame everywhere. Nothing was clinically wrong with him. I'm sure we've all been there many times. I didn't know what else to do. So I had tried every kind of energy work application I knew how to do, and Chip enjoys working with me, so that's great. However, it wasn't helping him get better. So I found a woman in Australia who created and put together Equine Positional Release, and I could not believe how amazingly simple, gentle, easy, how much my horse wanted to participate in that. And the way that this woman works with you and your horse over Zoom it gets the owner involved. So I'm not dissing anybody, but a lot of body workers prefer to work one-on-one with your horse and may or may not want you to be around because of distractions. But with equine positional release, we work together as a team. And when you have that extra set of hands, that extra set of eyes, to me, that creates a really safe, supported space for your horse to release and reposition their body and to relax into it and to help them. It essentially empowers your horse to self-correct. And all we're doing is participating and watching and exchanging observations and getting to know them in a really whole and complete way. We look at their environment, we look at their owners, we look at what's their day-to-day like. We take all those things into account, and then very simply we get on a video chat and I say, okay, walk your horse away, walk him back. And Indy didn't really feel like walking. He thought we could just skip that little exercise part. And he would just tell us what he wanted where. If you're not an animal communicator, equine positional release helps you really start to feel into your intuition and feel into what their bodies need. And so it kind of starts to give you a new way to work with their body. And it creates more space in the body. A lot of times these unsoundnesses can come from a trauma where the body has gotten stuck and forgotten how to move the way it was meant to. And so we're just helping the animal and the body self-correct.
Yeah, it was absolutely fascinating to see how Indy had been holding on to something just in his withers from years ago, even before I owned him.
Right. He did bring that up. And just by doing some very simple shoulder moves, we got him a lot more space so that his whole body could start to swing and move and just feel more comfortable.
And that was amazing to watch, especially he has a certain pattern when he comes up for his dinner. And when I watched him walk over to the shelter, I'm like, oh my gosh, he's a whole different horse. He is strutting. It was amazing. I was so excited that you could see results so quickly.
Yes, I share videos that I have of Chip of his before and after just one session. And dramatically different, much happier, not holding on to these old patterns. And again, what Chip likes about it is that I was involved because he kept saying, I want you to do it. I want you to help me. And I kept telling him, I don't know what else to do because my whole toolbox I have used on you and you're not feeling better. So what I came to realize in working with EPR is because it is involved again in empowering that horse, but also involving the owner and the person that they trust, I feel that's really what that group effort is what gets the results and the changes. It's equally important for them to feel safe and confident and trusting in who they're working with. And when the owner is involved, it just even deepens that connection, that bond, and your relationship. I think we all know, and maybe sometimes forget, relationships take time to cultivate. And the only way we can learn about another is to spend the time.
Absolutely. And just to clarify, you were out of tools in your toolbox until you discovered EPR. Is that right?
That's a great way to say it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I've been working with this woman for several years now. Both of my horses, both of my dogs. She is just incredible. She developed this equine positional release, but she's also a naturopath. So she is kind of my one-stop shop, and she loves to teach I've never seen anyone kind of more lit up like Christmas than this woman when she teaches. And so I decided, hey, I've been working with you for 4 years. Why don't I learn it? Like, why shouldn't I? I already know most of it just in doing sessions with my own animals. And that way I can help bring that piece into the world too.
That's fantastic. I'm really grateful you learned it. And what I especially love is you can utilize that along with your animal communication skills. So it's like a holistic perspective. So you're tuning in with the animal, chatting with them energetically, and seeing what's going on with their body all at the same time. I think that's phenomenal.
Right. And then we can take it another layer with the healing and look at where there's a point of origin of a trauma, or discuss when a trauma happened, if that's even known. We can also energetically ask questions of, well, what was the timing of the trauma that caused this patterning? And we can move into that space and energetically clear that point of origin, gather up any other stressors that went with it, move that out of the body, help reposition it, and it'll hold. Yeah, it'll hold longer. And you'll just, again, see this freedom in these animals come through. And then a lot of times, once you move those old traumas that are being stored in the body, they'll open up and share a whole other topic or concern or celebration, something that they haven't ever shared with you before, and it just knocks your socks off.
Oh,
I take Chip. I mean, 9 years I've been with him, and it was just the last 2 months that he said, okay, I'm ready to move my anxiety, and I'm ready to share with you about that, and I'm ready to tell you why it's there, and I'm ready to ask you to help me move it. But he had to be ready for that. And essentially, I feel I had to be ready for it too, because it was pretty intense.
oh wow.
To be in that space and in that energy and that level of anxiety that he was bringing to the table. When you're a highly sensitive person, it feels really big.
Absolutely. Can you say
Yeah.
a little bit more about how you clear the energy? I think the listeners would be really curious to know more about that.
It is really interesting. If you look up access consciousness, now I haven't studied that. However, I have taken clearing statements from that I do utilize in my work. And what I do energetically is I literally will just close my eyes, connect with that animal. And if it's a known trauma or something they're bringing up that they want to clear, like the anxiety, I ask Chip, where in your body is this anxiety residing? And then I'm going to ask to show me the point of origin. For me, when I visualize, so I'll visualize and feel it in my body. And for me, it just looks like a dark spot. It might feel a little bit uncomfortable, a little like fullness, or might be a little bit painful. Whatever your indicator is for discomfort or something that needs to not be there. And then I'll feel into that space and I'll start going through all my questions of what's coming in from outside. Is there an external driver to this? What's internal? Where has it rooted into the body to like really hardwire and stay in there? And then I ask it what else it needs, go through my whole other set of questions again. And then I will ask them if we need to pull it and clear it. And from that, I'll just say we destroy and uncreate, and we'll pull it. Sometimes it's something that needs to be recognized and kind of reinstalled or reintegrated into the body. So not everything is bad and not everything needs to be removed from the body. So that's kind of where we have to start using our intuition and those communication skills to find out and keep asking the questions so that we can move it effectively. A lot of times if something's removed or pulled because it no longer serves that individual and needs to just be gone, I'll ask them what they want to bring in place of that. So like for example, Chip his anxiety was related to being saddled specifically. So I had to put him into that situation for his body to become triggered by the memory of the first time he was saddled. So put the pad on, cleared that. Put the saddle on, cleared that. I reached for the girth and he was like, game over, I'm out, don't want to do this. And so I just stepped back for a moment. I said, okay, gonna clear that too, because that's a big reaction. Yeah. Reached for the girth again. He was very patient, started to do up the girth, felt the anxiety coming on again, cleared that. And then when we got all comfortable with that, I led him around. He was so relaxed, so happy. And I said, okay, what's next? And he said, well, let's go to the mounting block. And what he wanted me to do was literally energetically take him back to right before the first time someone ever stepped onto his back. Because that was very stressful memory for him. The first time he had a rider on his back. And he literally showed me that his head was pulled around to the right and then the rider got on. And so we literally went through all those motions and cleared each little piece. And then I said, how do you want to rewire this? How do you want to reset this going forward? And so he turned his head and he said, cookie, please. And I gave him his cookie. So we plugged that in, we bookmarked that, like you say, Beth.
Love it.
And, thank you, more of that, please. Let's bring more of that into our energy field. And so I did that a couple more times. And then he said, okay, put your foot in a stirrup. So I did that. Thank you, more of that, please. And I got on his back. Thank you, more of that, please. And it's the first time in the 9 years, well, maybe not the first time, but maybe truly the first time in 9 years that I've had him that he just stepped off so relaxed, zero resistance, zero anxiety, completely happy to go walk. These horses that he's very well schooled, but these horses that you can just kind of like drop them into trot, like you drop a car in the drive, and they just keep trotting until you tell them something else. Well, he has never been that horse, but he is now. And I've always been so accustomed to like, come on, keep going. Come on, keep going. He's like, yeah, no, I got it.
Amazing.
Because the anxiety and the stressors and the trauma are just gone. I did ask him if I could sit quietly in my office to do this work. And he said, no, I need you to put me in the situation. So here again, if you can safely bring them into that situation to work with them in a very safe and relaxed way, you can move a lot of things really quick. I think the whole thing took 10 minutes beginning to end.
That's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, we could do a clinic just on that, right?
Oh, easily.
Yeah.
Easily. Because not only did this help him, you can do it for you too. The process is the same.
Well, this sounds so much like RTT, Jana, because when we actually ask the part of you that's holding you back, what's been going on, where do they feel it in their body, do they want to release it, do they want to transform it? It's very similar. It's really interesting.
Very much. Yeah. I think the tricky part oftentimes is when we don't know where something's coming from. Sometimes we benefit a great deal from digging into it and finding out where it's coming from. And sometimes we don't need to know. It just comes up and says, here I am, I need to go. And it's good when we can capture the story that comes with it too and adjust that as well. So for example, is one day I got on Chip to just go for a walk, and I wanted to walk through these pool noodles I set up, and I felt myself get triggered and go, uh-oh, he might spook. And I caught that thought in that moment, and I said, okay, where is this coming from? Gathered it up, pulled it out, and then I said, we're going to have a nice, relaxed, confident ride and this is going to be so much fun. And all the anxiety just gone. And we had so much fun. And he didn't put a foot wrong. He didn't do his goofy spook he does sometimes. And it's definitely something you need to get a little practiced at. But
Yes.
when you get the hang of that, it's like gone.
I'm so proud of you. You flip your script so quickly. I literally thought of it today, like when the what ifs come up, just tell them what for.
I love that.
What are those what ifs doing for me? Are they actually helping me, or are they just, getting me to pay attention so that way if something happens, my body's ready? That's valid. But if they're there to really hold us back from having fun, then what the for are you doing here? Get out.
What the for?
What the for? You like that?
I love it. I'm going to use that.
I mean, my New York accent just came out too, which is hilarious. Oh, beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Jana. That was absolutely gorgeous transformation with you and with Chip. Gosh, if everyone could do that for their horses, I hadn't really considered too much of that trauma of, the first ride for the horse. Like, especially if you have a horse that's been ridden for ages, like that doesn't even really cross most people's minds. But now you've really got me thinking like, what could we do to help these horses even more? Like, this is gorgeous.
Right. The beautiful thing about animals is they're so willing to let go of their stuff and move forward. I know a lot of people that are too. I do feel that our animals are just a shining example for us to follow in those footsteps, and that willingness to let something go and to move forward and create new ways of being. And like I said, Chip had 15 years of life before I met him. 15 years of who knows what. Well, he shared a bit with me, but 9 years into our relationship, now he's ready to move those things. And for the longest time, and I think any person can identify with this too, we can put things aside and put them aside and put them aside, and we can cope, and that's how we're designed to be. And then there's that one day where it hits you and you can't ignore it anymore, and you've got to sort it out. So how do you do that? Well, aren't we lucky that we have all these different modalities to access to help ourselves?
Thank goodness there's more Janas in the world now.
Yeah.
And hopefully more people be inspired to work with you and to learn this for themselves. Like, this is a lovely example of, continuing to evolve and help the horse industry and just help humans in general, because it allows us to open our hearts more the more we think about creating a better world for our horses. It gets us to really step back and think about, how can we be kinder to ourselves, kinder to our horses, and then that creates the beautiful ripples out into the world. So with that said, wanting to create the ripples out into the world and creating better impact, for horses and humans, what do you think holds horse owners back from being their most confident selves to be able to do that?
Big part of it is the human default setting of comparison.
Yeah.
And, oh no, what if I'm not doing it right? Oh no, what if my horse hates me? Oh no, what if they're just doing it because I want to? How do I know? I got this perfect horse and I paid all this money and now there's this problem. And what do I do? What do I do? Those are those things. And there's not a class in high school in the mainstream world about how to use your intuition and how to trust it and how to be in it. And if you just have your intuition, if you have one skill in your whole life is your intuition, it'll take you everywhere you need to go. And until someone points it out and helps you understand how to be in it, I think it's a really hard thing to really, really get the grasp of. So I would really love if horse people would stop with the comparison and comparing themselves to others, and just really give yourself grace and honor being where you're at. If you're not finding your people, call in your people. And it's really as simple as putting out a prayer or an intention. Hey, where are my people who are going to understand where I'm coming from and are going to be supportive in the way that I need help with this horse or with my horse journey or whatever. And the other thing is, when you use your intuition, there's so many resources available, like so many. And Beth, you're really good at helping people understand the whole intuition aspect. Horses are highly intuitive creatures, probably more so than other animals. I love them all. I love all the animals. So, but horses are particularly adept at intuition. And I suspect that why a lot of us are drawn to them is because it's something that we desire to know more about. And they're a really great way to find it. So call in your people and find the way to trust yourself, find your voice, be an advocate. If you don't understand something, ask questions, ask lots of questions. And if you're with another horse person that thinks you're annoying because you ask too many questions, they're not your person. It's that simple.
That's why I created my Inspired Riders group. So for those who are listening and are not a part of the Inspired Riders group on Facebook, it's free. You can join, you can ask as many questions as you like, and then you'll see many other inspired riders who have taken my courses. And every course I put out there, it emphasizes learning how to fine-tune your intuition. And I have very specific steps, so that way you're going to get really confident and you'll learn to practice with really basic things until one day you'll just go out there and you'll just know. And you'll just know exactly what the answer is. And that's the best way to build confidence. So I really appreciate you talking about this, Jana.
And then this is the reason I enjoy working with you in this capacity, is because you're always reminding me to come back to my intuition, to really sink deeper into that, to connect in deeper with that. And being a kid who's ridden her whole life and studied it in college and had a lot of really great trainers and opportunities to sit on a lot of great horses, I know how to show up at a horse show and win. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I was connecting and really having a partnership with my horses. And that's what I wanted more of. So I was, really at a crossroads when I met Beth, and I put my request out. I need somebody who understands that I talk to animals and doesn't think I'm crazy and doesn't try to fix my horse because my horse is perfect. And that's when I met Beth, and she really helped me get into that deeper space. And with every person like Beth that you meet, that you work with, it helps you get better at your skills and in trusting yourself and believing in yourself, and the bravery comes out of that as a byproduct.
Absolutely. And I absolutely love working with you and Chip in our lessons, because I could say, okay, how's it feel to you? How's it feel to Chip after I've given you a suggestion? And then I'm just the guide. I'm like shaping the clay, like a sculptor.
Yeah.
Very gently,
Yes.
Just suggesting things. And then you guys flow with it or not. And if you don't, then we regroup and find something else to do. But that's the coolest thing, is when you get so in tune with your intuition and with your horse and what they're telling you, the lessons become so much easier. And then you're just building up that rapport, and you're tuning into your heart so much that, confidence just comes naturally.
Right.
What do you wish every horse owner would believe about themselves?
Well, you got into horses because you love them. Don't lose sight of that.
Yeah, never lose sight of how much you love these amazing horses. Get back to that childlike wonder, like, oh my gosh, I have a horse I get to work with. that wants to engage with me. How cool is that?
Absolutely. Every day I go to the farm now, and Chip is freer from his baggage. And every day I just look at him and I think, wow, that's my horse. Because he's equally stunning as he is brilliant in his mind and lovely to be around and funny. I mean, he's everything you could ask for. And that doesn't mean that sometimes he doesn't bump into me and try to sit on me because he has an itchy spot I'm ignoring. But every day I show up and I just really hold the intention of gratitude and feel into that space for why I have them. So even though he's 90% retired and he doesn't want to do the job he used to do with me, it's giving us the space to open into exploring a whole lot of other things. And so the days I do get to go riding are bonus days, and all the rest are just filled with wonderful. My parents don't remember what my first word was, but they said they would be driving along somewhere and they'd just hear me go, horsey.
Yep, you were not bitten by the bug. You were annihilated by it.
I arrived with it.
And that's exactly what one of my trainers said. Like, there's no cure. Yep.
No, none at all. And there are pictures of me when I was little, like peeking around and just staring in wide-eyed wonder at these animals. And that's what I feel every time I look at Chip or my other horse, Aurora. Every time I look at them and think, wow, those are my horses. Wow.
It really is amazing. Yeah, I went out today just to put fly spray on them. I had to go find them. They were deep in the woods. And they're just standing there totally chill. And I spray them, gave them a couple cookies, and then they just were happy to just lick my arms like crazy. And I'm just like, this is the coolest life. I'm so lucky. Just like tickled by just getting licked by my horses,
Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it's such a blessing. And so just to remind people to come back to that gratitude that they even want to engage with us. They're just the most willing, beautiful animals. So the more we can keep learning, keep evolving, and doing the best we can to help them find their joy as much as we find our joy, I think is imperative.
Absolutely.
Jana, when do you feel the most confident in life?
You're making me think. This is challenging, this one. I think a lot of people could say when they're in their element, they feel very confident. I feel most confident since I've really learned to be solid in my intuition is when I feel the most confident. And when I'm feeling off base, I take a moment to reconnect with myself. And that's where I feel my power. And anytime I'm with one of my animals, you know those times where you just know you're so connected and you're so on the path you're meant to be on. It's awesome. It's almost like the joy of being in the flow of your purposes. It almost transcends confidence, really. I do have one really great memory of when I felt very confident, specifically riding. And it was after a couple of injuries. It was after working with you for a while. And I had practiced visualizing. I was going to go to a horse show, and I visualized every single day that week before I went to the show. And it probably was like the best show I had had in 3 or 4 years, because I took that time to go through it in my mind, and I knew it forward, backward, and sideways. And Chip was just so right there with me that day. And incidentally, that was the last show that he and I went to together. And you want to talk about going out with a bang, that would be it, because it was just the best day. is not unusual for him to win and be champion, but to be champion on top of it that day was pretty sweet. Yeah.
That's absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, the power of visualization is incredible. So I'm really, really glad that you did that and you mentioned that, because so many athletes do it. And I think riders forget that they're athletes as well. So if you can remember that and remember to visualize all the time, and even I do it while I'm riding. So let's say we pause for a moment in the middle of the arena, take a breath, and then I visualize exactly what I want to do. I say it out loud, and then I ask with my body. So it's like all three of those things are combined to create the invitation, and then you're being really congruent and the horse understands. But if you go through it completely before you even see your horse, so that's how you're going to dial in your confidence as well, because your mind doesn't know the difference between real or imagined. So if you're practicing in your mind and then you actually go and do it in real time, then you're like, oh yeah, I've already done this. It's totally simple. So have a meditation for that, even for when your horse spooks. So that way your body will totally know what to do when the horse spooks. So you'll allow yourself to become linguini and engage your abs again, and then stay with the horse, all the things that you really need to actually stay on. I don't know why that example just popped in, but I guess somebody needed to hear that. So yeah.
Oh, it makes sense to me. Good. Yeah, and if your mind is already on board with it, your body and your mind can work together to have a more appropriate response instead of react and go into fight or flight and shut off.
Exactly. Yeah. And that was always my common theme as a kid, especially. I would freeze up and just pull the reins, and that's not going to help. You're just going to go faster, and the horse can get annoyed with you. So yeah, if you can actually train yourself to give the reins, soften, and then the horse has nothing to brace against, and then they just naturally slow down, that's much more helpful.
Can I share something from my 40 years with horses?
Please.
That is profound to me, because growing up, I was really, really active. I was always fit because I was a kid and I was running around all the time. I was doing barn work. I was doing all the things. I stayed really fit, really active through most of my life. But then when I hurt my back and then I hurt my knee and I lost my fitness, that is when I got scared. And so because of those things, what I've found is it is really important to keep ourselves in shape. It's really important to keep our bodies moving and using our bodies. So even though my brain knows a whole lot of stuff about riding, my body was not fit enough to keep up. And then I got scared. So I know it's more and more visible that the top riders, they have workout routines. They work out every day. It's equally important for the rest of us to be doing those kind of things too, because it's going to give us longevity. It's going to give us confidence. It's going to help us be brave. And it's going to help our horses carry us too. So I'm not dissing on anybody, but this is what I found, because all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, when did I get out of shape? How did that happen? And oh my gosh, now I'm scared. When did that happen? I've never been scared. So if you're finding yourself in a place where you feel unsafe on their back too, look at these things. Am I fit? What am I doing for my fitness? Did I spend time mentally preparing? Did I spend time? Please groom your horses for half an hour. Please don't dust them off and then ride. This is it means so much to them. You're doing it for them to spend the time grooming before you tack up. It means so much. And I can't tell you how many times horses have told me, could you please spend more time with the curry brush? It means a lot. So please groom your horses more. All those things that build relationships before you even get in the saddle. And then when you get in the saddle, you're going to just feel so good. You're going to be able to be in that joy a lot more with them. And they're going to rise up to meet you in that space. So we have not only do we really need to pay attention to the energy we're bringing, but how are we showing up for them? How are we showing up for ourselves? How are we showing up for that partnership? And while Chip and I hit it off from day one, it's still been a long process of continuing to get to know each other and build our relationship and watch it change and watch it grow. So I would really encourage everyone not to get too discouraged. Even on the hard days, just take a breath, take a break, brush your horse instead of ride, whatever you got to do. But give yourself grace and be okay with, well, not every day is perfect. And when we do that, we start to have a lot more good days and a whole lot less yucky ones.
Absolutely. Just focus on the fact that we get to be with these horses, and then we can appreciate all the little things. And I'm so glad you talked about fitness. I mean, that's been key, especially after all the injuries I've had. I'm basically a bionic woman. I have a 9-inch plate in my left leg. I have a screw and anchor in my knee on the same side, and a good 6 or 7-inch plate on my forearm on my left side. So it took me a while to, put myself back into the category of me being an athlete, and going past the point of realizing I didn't have to stay in pain anymore. I could just keep moving, and the more movement I made myself do, the more my body felt stronger. And then I didn't even think about all the plates in my body. Now I'm like, okay, what else can I do? So even if you feel like you are starting from scratch or starting from injuries, you can find a new normal to get yourself back into whatever athletic body feels right for you. I know Jana and I do Pilates 3 times a week. I've added yoga, and now I've added more weight training. And I keep thinking of trying to be less of a burden for my pony. So it was just what Jana was saying, is we want to be able to be carried easier. We want to be less of a burden. We want to feel more balanced. And the more balanced we are, mentally, physically, spiritually, the more balanced our horses can be, right? So
Right.
yeah, I don't think you're dissing anyone. I think you're encouraging everyone to start thinking of themselves as athletes. If they're going to sit on a horse's back, they've got to really start thinking about cross training. And riding just isn't enough. You've really got to start thinking about all the different things to help condition, strengthen, create more endurance, create more flexibility. And then you can be a
Right.
beautiful dance partner with your horse. And that's what's really fun. I had one moment where Pepper spooked recently, and I had absolutely zero fear, and I could feel my body reacted perfectly. And I went, that's where the Pilates is kicking in. This is awesome.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Because we have to remember it's dynamic movement.
Yes.
And there was a clinic I did with my friend last year where I kind of walked the rider through some things. I did some energy work to help with positioning and posture, not biomechanics, just energy work to help bring awareness to the body. And I said to one person, what are you doing for your fitness? Oh, well, I lift weights. I said, that's great. Could you add Pilates? Oh, well, this and that. And I said, I want to tell you that, and this is when we were only doing 2 days a week. I said, I want to tell you, I only do Pilates 2 days a week, 20 minutes each time. I said, everyone has time for that. And I said, it has profoundly changed how I use my body because it brings so much awareness along with the fitness. Yeah, and I mean, the repercussions of the benefits of Pilates is just, it's profound to me. I can pick my dogs up again because my back used to hurt too much. I can do my barn chores without going, oh gosh, I hope I didn't tweak my back.
Yeah.
I have more stamina when I have to drive a long distance. So it just goes out into all these other areas. And then suddenly your horse does this dynamic movement and it's not a big deal.
Yeah, it's really cool. So that definitely builds up our confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we lovingly nudge you in the direction of doing more cross training, okay, people? said with lots of love and excitement for your journey, because it's only going to get better from there. Yeah.
You will thank yourself. You will definitely thank yourself.
So, is there anything else that you'd like to share that I haven't asked you?
It's always a good time to start a new trajectory, start a new way of doing something, to take a step back and reflect on where you've been, where you're going. It's a good idea to always take the time to assess from time to time where you're going and are you happy in your horse journey? Because if you aren't, your horse is not happy either. That is another question I get a lot. Is my horse happy doing the job we're doing? And then I often counter it with, are you happy with the chosen job that you're doing with your horse? And some people will be like, yeah. And some are like, I don't know. That's why I'm asking my horse. So those are important things to pay attention to as we move forward. And please give yourself the space and the time to pause and look at where you've been and where you're going, because that's going to give you a lot of confidence too.
I love that. And your course was called Step Back and Reflect, right?
Yes, step back, reflect, connect. So every time, circling back to the comparison, every time someone says to me, well, I'm not as good as you are, I say, do you do this for 5 hours every day? And they say, no. I said, well, I do this 5 hours every day because this is what I love. I love to get up every morning and show up and do the work that I do. And I work really hard at it. So it doesn't mean that it has to be hard, but you have to want to show up and practice and put the time in. And that's something else that we have to remember with horses too. It's not going to be perfect every day because nothing is perfect. But the way we show up is what we can control or we can create. And that's where we need to start.
Yeah, just keep showing up and keep being willing to refine what lights you up, right?
Right. And being willing to be in it, be in all the stuff when it's good, when it's not. Just be willing to be in it and try new things and speak up when you need to.
I love it. Beautiful. So, Jana, how can people get in touch with you?
I have a Facebook page, Jana Wagner, Animal Communication and Wellness. You can find me there and message me there. You can find me on Facebook as Jana Wagner. I'm on Instagram also, Jana Wagner Animal Communication. And I will have a website here soon.
Cool. And we'll put all those links in the show notes, so please do check that out. And is there an offer that you wanted to share with our listeners?
Yes, anyone who had made it to the end of this podcast, thank you for being here. And please mention to me that you heard this on Beth's Inspired Riding podcast, and you can have 10% off your next session.
That's awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Jana, finally, just for fun, if you were a horse, how would you describe yourself?
If I was a horse, how would I describe myself? I think I would be either a very short quarter horse who's always ready for an adventure. That's it.
I love it. That's so fun. Short and sweet, right?
Yes.
So cool. Well, I just wanted to touch on one more thing that you mentioned, which was checking in with yourself before you even go see your horse. And that's one of the main reasons I created the Focus app. So if you have not checked it out, you can find it on the website, inspiredriding.com/focus-app. And you'll see that in the show notes as well. The cool thing about it is you can take a quiz to answer the questions how you're feeling, how your horse is feeling, what you've done in the past, and what you feel like doing right then. And you'll get a little video suggestion of what to do. And then you have a journal inside the app, which will encourage you to check in with how you're feeling before you even go work with your horse, and then to reflect back after and add a little picture. And then there's 26 different meditations. You'll also find that recovering from a spook meditation that I mentioned in the podcast today, but there's many others that I think you're really going to love. So definitely do go check that out. And if you haven't already, please do me a favor and write a review in either Google Play or your iPhone in the Apple Store. That would be amazing. I love seeing new reviews in there. It's a big heart project that I created a few years ago, and I'm very proud that it's still going and people are still enjoying it. And I love using it for myself. Like, I'll even just pull up a meditation right before I go do a project for my work, and it just puts me in the right mindset and my heart set. So thank you again, everyone, for listening. Jana, thank you so much for being here again. I absolutely love having you on the podcast. Hopefully I'll have you again here soon.
Yeah, sounds great. You're welcome.
Awesome. All right, everyone. Well, thanks again for listening. And remember to lead with kindness for yourself and for your horse. And may the horse be with you always.